comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the, no. Here comes the, oh. Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the, no. Here comes the, oh. Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that.
What's up, Titans Nation? Welcome into the 615 and into the SeatGeek Studios. It's your host, Lee Hillis, and today we are talking the new league year has arrived, which will officially start March 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central. But first, let's give a quick shout out to our partners over at SeatGeek. You can use our code 615podcast. That is 615PODCAST at checkout for $20 off your first order of $50 or more on SeatGeek.com or on the SeatGeek app. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest joining us tonight from around the AFC South, or tour of the AFC South. Let's welcome our guest, Mike Patton. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good. As I said, the new league year is here. Mm-hmm. And there have been a lot of crazy moves that Titans fans, for me, for sure did not see.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But just around the NFL in general. Just around the NFL in general, there have been crazy moves.
Definitely. Definitely.
First move I do want to get into, Titans sign former Pittsburgh Steelers tackle Dan Moore to a 4-year deal worth $82 million and gets $50 million guaranteed and $30 million in the first year. Now, Mike, what do you think of this for the Titans?
I mean, one thing I think is now you don't see Nicholas Petit-Frere at right tackle anymore. That is a welcome sign for a lot of Titans fans because I remember distinctly one play he got pass rushed and he did the splits when the guy was pass rushing him, and of course Will Levis got blasted. So with that being said, Dan Moore brings a competent offensive lineman in. He can actually do a few things. I mean, I know you have the statistical numbers and then some that look at the play and like, I don't know when it comes to pass blocking or anything like that. But I will say he's an upgrade over what they had at the right tackle position. But I will say he's going to be playing the left tackle, and more than likely J.C. Latham is going to move up to the right tackle, which will make the Titans offensive line much, much stronger than it was last year. And, you have 3 positions where you have some strength as opposed to question marks on the whole right side and wondering how your left side is going to develop.
And PK has already said it. Paul Kaharski's already said it. The Titans plan on putting Dan Moore at left tackle and moving Latham to the right side. But Dan Moore brings, I don't want to say veteran leadership. He's been a 4-year starter in Pittsburgh. All of them at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And his win rate, I think, is in the ballpark of 90 to 95% on pass blocking.
Right.
If you were to look at our block rate, our block win rate on pass blocking last year, it's very low.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It definitely is bad. But one thing I also, it is next gen stats. So, you do take him with a grain of salt when it comes to that. But also, I will say he's an upgrade over what you currently had. It's definitely a lot of money. I was talking to one of my with somebody else that that covers the Titans as well, and it's a lot of money for somebody to be paid to not be an all pro. But he is definitely a guy that can come in and make some things happen, especially if he's ascending in his career. Like, he hasn't hit his prime yet.
And then Former Titan and LA Charger Christian Fulton signed a 2-year, $20 million contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm going to say this to the Chiefs fans. Just wait until either, and Mike said this before, just wait till he gets burnt, or wait till he's not out there for half the year. And you'll be thinking,
Yeah, I'm very interested. They're going to put him in probably. He's going to be a lot of man-to-man coverage because that's what the Kansas City Chiefs do with all their different things like that. Yeah, Spagnuolo, that Spags definitely is going to bring the heat. So definitely is going to be interesting to watch and see how he develops or how he plays in that system, especially man-to-man defense. Ooh, I'm kind of nervous for him playing that.
And then a couple of days ago, Tom Pelissero made this tweet out from further sources. The Patriots are signing Harold Landry, former Titan outside linebacker Harold Landry, to a 3-year deal for $43.5 with $26 million fully guaranteed and a max value of $48 million. We knew this was coming. We knew Landry would go back to Vrabel.
Well, I had him either going back to Vrabel or he was going to go to either one of two places, Washington or the Detroit Lions. So, he definitely went where the money was. He went where the money resided.
And New England coming into this offseason had the most money to spend.
Yes, they did. They're making their money's worth, aren't they? Good gracious.
Let me go pull up because I think I have the screenshot of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they paid him. They paid Milton Williams. They paid, they paid
right here
Mac Hollins too. I think they paid him too.
Patriots had the most cap space available at the beginning of free agency, $122.4 million.
Yep.
They spent. I don't even want to do the math on that. $246.5 million so far in day one of free agency. So they outspent their cap in one day.
Yeah.
So they paid.
They did.
They paid Harold Landry, Robert Swain, Carlton Davis, Morgan Moses, and Milton Williams.
Yep. You're gonna have some fun.
And then Justin Fields is out in Pittsburgh because he is the newest quarterback in the line of quarterbacks for the New York Jets.
I'm actually rooting for him to do well. I didn't think he got the greatest deal in Pittsburgh. I understand in terms of going to Russell Wilson, but I just didn't think he got the greatest deal in Pittsburgh, and I'm rooting for him to do well for the Jets.
The shocking news out of Tennessee today. The Titans have moved on from Pro Bowl punter Ryan Stonehouse.
Yeah, didn't expect that one. Didn't expect that one today, but oof.
The thing that I feel like a lot of Titans fans are thinking is, why would you not tender him? And then you turn around and you tender safety Mike Brown.
Hey, I guess they value depth more. I guess that's what they valued. It just kind of threw me off.
I read a lot of things today after that release of Ryan Stonehouse that said the reason they went at it is because they were quote unquote wanting to go in a new direction.
With a punter?
Well, he was out kicking the coverage.
I could see that in some aspects. Actually in the stadium watching it, but still, I would much rather have a guy that you could kind of have to tone.
He was
down.
a difference maker.
No, yeah, he definitely was.
So, but as I said, they part ways with Stonehouse, but they agreed to terms on a new contract with safety Mike Brown.
Now, I like Mike Brown and the depth that he brings. I just
as a depth piece.
Yeah, it's just basically a depth piece to me.
But with the release of Ryan Stonehouse, Titans have reached an agreement today that is fully guaranteed with with four-time All-Pro punter Johnny Hecker,
Mm-hmm.
who is being reunited from his Charger days with Titans special teams coordinator John Fossil.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be bloody fun times, I guess, with those two back together again. But you like Stonehouse, but you do get an All-Pro punter, a four-time All-Pro punter. Hey, I can't really be too mad about that if I'm a Titans fan.
But the thing is, we don't have a kicker. So I pose
That
this
too.
question
Yeah.
to you. Do you trade a late day 3 pick, like a 6th-round pick, to Dallas for Brandon Aubrey?
That's interesting. But I honestly, I don't think the Cowboys let him go. But I would honestly, if it comes down to that, I'd just draft a young kicker or get a free agent kicker, to be honest. But you do have
Well,
to, but I will say the Titans have went through this before where they had a disastrous kicker situation. So, yeah, you may be right. They may need to go ahead and solidify that somewhere.
so Nick Folk is a free agent. The
Mm-hmm.
youngest kicker on this list is Cade York.
Cade York's been here, I believe, before.
He was
Right?
on practice squad.
At the squad, yeah.
He is
I
24 years
wonder if they
old.
call him.
Spencer Schrader in Kansas City is 25.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Seibert is 28. Joey Sly is 28, 29. Keep this guy as far away from Nashville as possible, Michael Badgley.
Yeah,
Greg
definitely.
Joseph is 30. Matt Prater is 40.
Ugh, it ain't sounding too good.
And then you have Nick Folk. So there's only 9 kickers on the market right now.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too good. I would say if they, I would say also, hey, scout around for the college guys that you like. If either to go with that guy or go get a veteran. But I think the last resort would probably be trading for a kicker. But hey, that's just me.
Well, there was a report that came out a while back, and this was from Brandon Aubrey and John Fossil.
Mm-hmm.
It was some of a conversation between the two that Fossil stated that he would push everything he could to get a trade done for Brandon Aubrey, counting Fossil's coming from Dallas. So he had Brandon Aubrey last year.
Right. I totally get it. But one thing I think we're missing in this equation is Brandon Aubrey played a lot of his game, at least half of his games indoors. So that's going to extend his range by far right there with none of the wind and all the different things like that.
He kicked I think a 65-yarder versus Baltimore. Well, I think it was at Baltimore.
Well, I got you. I totally understand. I just wonder how much being outside full time would affect his kicking. That's what I wonder.
And that would be something interesting to find out, how he was outside versus indoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, last year, it didn't matter where he was, but I just wonder how being outside for all of his career, for a full season would affect his kicking. I just wonder.
Well, I think he would definitely have to change his mechanics on how he approaches how he approaches a kick.
Yeah, I could see that potentially happening, or it's the minor things when it comes to kickers in terms of all the steps and all those different things as well. So
yeah, and now later in this afternoon at around 5:13 Eastern, 6:13 or 4:13 Central, former Chiefs safety Justin Reed reaches agreement with the Saints on a 3-year, $31.5 million deal, including $22.25 million fully guaranteed. Reed is returning home to Louisiana.
I would say that it's very a good signing for the Saints. I'm just trying to figure out, when did the Saints get money? Are they paying them in like IOUs or something? I mean, because usually every year
IOUs.
they're over the cap. That's what kind of throws me off when they
They're in
start
the
signing people. And
basement.
I'm like,
I think they're
yeah,
32nd in cap.
yeah. That's why I'm trying to figure out how they have any money. It's just
And
it throws me
then
off.
the amount of quarterbacks that have been signed in basically a day and a half.
Hmm.
Sam Darnold to Seattle, 3 years, basically $100 million. Justin Fields to the Jets, 2 years, 40. Danny Dimes to Indianapolis. Indiana Jones, 1 year, 14 million. Jimmy G stays in LA with the Rams, 1 year, 4 million. Zach Wilson to Miami, 1 year, 6 million. Josh Dobbs goes back and he teams up with Mike Vrabel in New England, 2 years, 8 million. Jarrett Stidham stays in Denver, 2 years, 12. Nick Mullins to Jacksonville, 2 years, 6.5. The question I have with that Josh Dobbs going to New England, what does that do to a former Vol quarterback in Joe Milton?
They're looking to actually trade him, is what I've been reading. So, they're looking for a situation to put him into. They want to send him to a situation where he can develop more. That's quite interesting, because if you look around today's NFL, you don't really see teams developing quarterbacks or taking time to develop quarterbacks. So that's an interesting statement in itself that the Patriots said in regards to where they want to trade him. So we'll see what happens, but maybe it's something that happens on draft day or as you get closer to the draft. But it's just an interesting choice of words to say about Joe Milton in this type of league.
But the quarterback's still out there. You have Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, Mac Jones, Gardner Minshew, Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, former Titan quarterback Marcus Mariota, Cooper Rush, Jacoby Brissett, Drew Lock, Trey Lance, and Carson Wentz. I know you said you'd be okay with Mariota, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be okay with him. Another guy I'd be okay with if the Titans wanted to bring in maybe a Jameis Winston, perhaps. That would be interesting in its own right. It for the entertainment value alone, it would be interesting.
And then I'm thinking veteran, a Russell Wilson maybe. If you do go Cam Ward at 1.
That would be interesting. I would say if you want to allow Cam Ward to sit and learn, yeah, Russell Wilson would be your guy. But I
feel like that's somewhat of the makeup that you would want out of Cam Ward.
Yeah, I could see that. But I just wonder if Russ is gonna accept that type of position, even though he has to understand where he is in his career right now. I just wonder if he goes in like he did in Pittsburgh and doesn't know if he's going to be the starter or not, and then all of a sudden is the starter. And then if he, I don't know how he feels about that type of situation going into again, even though he is older in his career at this point, and he should understand those things. People and their egos, man, and that's how it goes.
So Russell Wilson is 36. Per Spot Track, he made 1.2 million last year. 36 for if you were to get him for a year, which that's what I would look at. Bringing a quarterback in here for a year, basically like a little bridge guy, to not only play, but to guide your rookie quarterback. I would say Russell Wilson is in the mix for me. Marcus, who's been here in Tennessee before. And then I would if Brissett was still here out on the market, which he's not. He's in Arizona now. I would have
Mm-hmm.
said Jacoby Brissett.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it, and one thing I would say is Russell Wilson. He made that 1.2 million, I believe, last year just because Denver paid him so much to go away. So I would suspect that if he signs somewhere, it's going to be in the upper, the upper single digits as opposed to the lower single digits this time. So that's why I kind of like.
I would probably go 8 to 10.
Okay, that sounds about right. That sounds about right for Russell.
Or if you just wanted to keep somebody who's familiar with this system around, go Mason Rudolph.
Oh, I hear you, but I think Titans fans would have a conniption fit if he ends up back here in two-tone blue.
Which means Will Levis is in a ball cap on the sideline.
Oh yeah, for sure. That would for sure mean that because he would be the backup.
And of course, there was a trade that came out way earlier in the day. Outside of the Houston trade with Washington for Tunzel, they also send Kenyon Green to Philadelphia for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And they also swap picks with the Eagles getting a 2026 fifth round. And the Texans getting a fifth round for the Eagles and from 2026. And the Texans getting a 2026 sixth round.
Yeah. Honestly, looking at it, I see why they're bringing C.J. Gardner-Johnson there because now they can put him at safety with next to Petrie, and then they can move Jimmy Ward consistently down the box and make him just a slot corner like he did during most of his days out in San Francisco. But with the offensive line,
breaking news: the 49ers and wide receiver Demarcus Robinson agree on a 2-year deal worth $9.5.
I like that signing. That's a value signing, and actually, Demarcus Robinson can take the top off of defenses which they kind of lacked last season.
And then the Giants reached an agreement with former Dolphins safety Javon Holland, 3 years, $45.3 million. This is a guy I thought possibly could have landed in Tennessee, possibly. Along with this guy, I thought he would have stayed. But coming out at about 6:30 Eastern, the Dolphins have agreed to terms with former Titan wide receiver Nick Westbrook-Akine for 2 years, $6.5 million, with $3.2 million guaranteed. Sources tell me and Tom Pellisario. Coming off of a career high 9 receiving touchdowns last season, NWI is on his way to Miami.
Man, I know some Titans fans are hurt by this decision. I would say that I always enjoyed talking to him. Always was polite. Always had any time. Always was just, he just kept it real. Every single time he talked to him, and he went out there and did his best. And it seemed like every single year they were almost trying to get rid of him, but he played his way into being on the field. And this year was no different. And now he's going somewhere where they actually want him to play off top.
I think he was the most tenured wide receiver in the in Titans uniform. Him and I think Mason Kinsey.
He was the most tenured. He was the most tenured Titans wide receiver, I believe, on the team so far. Yeah, on this team, definitely. So it's gonna be interesting that he's not with the Tennessee Titans. And I believe, if I'm correct, the Titans play the AFC East this year, if I'm not mistaken. So they might see him in a Dolphins uniform going against them this year.
I know we play New England this year.
I'm pretty sure they play the AFC East, but I am not for sure.
The other moves that came out, the Ravens are signing wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins for 1 year, $6 million.
Right. another weapon for that team, another sure-handed weapon for that team, and you
And
can only
who's
imagine
stopping
what their
that team?
chemistry is going to be like. What's that?
Who's stopping that? Who's stopping that team? Derrick Henry in the
Oh,
backfield.
the mirror.
Well,
The mirror is the only thing that's stopping that team.
And then for more Titans news that came out about 7 o'clock this afternoon Eastern. Free agent safety Xavier Woods reached an agreement with the Tennessee Titans for 2 years, $10 million.
Yeah, I like the signing because the guy, he has the best thing that you need about any player, and that's availability. He does not miss games. So he's going to be out there every single game consistently.
And I do have one question about the fullback position. Is the fullback position considered a dying breed?
Oh, it's been a dying breed.
The reason I'm bringing that up, last night we got a notification from Adam Schefter. 49ers informed 9-time Pro Bowl fullback Kyle Juszczyk that he is being released.
Yep. And honestly, last year it almost happened as well, but I think they redid his deal or reworked some things. But when they start reworking your deal, sometimes that means you're coming to an end. And that's what it was for Kyle Juszczyk, which, I mean, I enjoy him and Patrick Ricard. Watching both of those guys play.
Ricard is still in
Baltimore. He re-signed, yeah.
Yeah. But dealing with some, and my positions of need, like the guard position for Tennessee, the right guard. Names that are already off the list. Laken Tomlinson ends up in Houston for $4.25. Will Fry's former Indianapolis guard ends up in Minnesota for $88 a year, or $88 million total over 5 years. Robert Jones, former Dolphin, ends up in Dallas. 1 year, 4.7, basically 4.8 for a year. So guys that are still on the market, Brandon Sharif from Jacksonville.
I would touch him if I was Tennessee.
You wouldn't?
No, he's if you watched him play the last couple of years, it just looked like he kind of, it looked like he was losing it. He was missing blocks a little bit more than what he did when he was with the Commanders, and then when he got down to Jacksonville, it's like he regressed as he went along down there.
Kevin Zeitler from Detroit, $6 million last year.
I think he's a little older, a veteran, so I think that's probably the reason why he's still out there.
35. His average market salary for this year is 9.2. A guy that I brought up to you that I really like, just based on his size. He's 25. He'll be 26 in September, and it's Mekhi Becton. Super Bowl champion Mekhi Becton. His market value on what he could expect to possibly make is 10.2 a year. Would you pay a guy like Mekhi Becton 10.2 a year?
I don't know if I would pay him to bring him if I were the Titans. I like him, but I don't know if I like him at that number. That's the only thing I would think about, because you just paid a left tackle, then you'd go with paying another guard, and then I don't know how tight the money is right now, but I mean the way things are going in terms of Titans in the postseason, in the off season, it's seeming like they're a little tighter with money than what you would expect them to be with 60+ million available. So just going in that pattern, I think he might be a little too rich for their blood.
Well,
and there'd be
you would need at least at least 15 to sign your draft class due to like cap hits and everything.
Right.
A guy that I know you brought up, he would be going into year 5 out of Oklahoma State, second round pick, Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, I definitely like Tevin Jenkins. I mean, I know he's had some whiffs when it comes to blocking in the interior, but I
Yeah.
think going along with Bill Callahan, a guy that teaches it very, very well, teaches O-line play very, very well, I think he could take some of those things away and actually make him a better guard.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a guy like a Liam Eichenberg.
Huh, I'm not familiar with that name, but
out of Miami.
Okay.
He came out the same year Jenkins did.
Okay, got you. I'm not as high on him as I would be on Jenkins, to be honest. But I would, if I had to choose, I'd pick Jenkins. But you definitely got to get somebody in there. You can't you got Radents that's out there and available, but I'm not sure. It doesn't, to me, I don't get the feeling they want to bring him back.
And
Can you hear me?
then edge rusher was another position I want. Yeah, edge rusher is another position I just really wanted to grab just real quick before we get out of here. Zadarius Smith out of Detroit. What would you think about possibly bringing him in to replace a guy like Harold Landry?
Honestly, I would make a run at him. I would make a run at him because he definitely is somebody that could make a difference for the Titans, because they need someone out there to replace Landry, to be honest.
And he's only 32.
Yeah, I would make a run at him. I mean, honestly, I would.
Or a guy like, what's the other guy that I was looking at? Had he not gotten injured, if you just wanted that veteran piece, I would look at a guy like a Brandon Graham.
I think Brandon's going to retire, to be honest. So I honestly, I don't think he'd be going anywhere, because I think he's going to retire, Brandon Graham. But I would say that the guy of Kansas City, yes, I would say that would be a piece you would look at as well. I mean, you got to have somebody there. You can't just go into the season without somebody, unless a particular gentleman from the University of Tennessee drops to the second round. Then I would be getting him in the draft.
James Pierce.
That is correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If he drops in the draft,
well,
I
another
would be
guy that I was
there to pick him up.
Another guy that I was. Another guy that's looked at his market value is down to 4.2 a year, and it's Matt Judon.
That's an option. Although I would say Judon is more of a 4-3 defensive lineman. So I would say more than likely he probably would go somewhere that fits him more as a 4-3. And I don't know if the Titans would be a good fit for him in terms of, being a pass rusher.
They got him as outside instead of a defensive end. Charles Minwu or Minahu, 11.8. That's a little rich for me.
Mm-hmm.
But just think about that. Hey, he can disrupt a game.
Yeah. That's cool.
But Mike, thank you for taking time out of your evening to come hop on and run through the moves that have happened already.
Well, if you can hear me, thank you for inviting me on. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties with my internet over here. My apologies for all that
Yeah.
are listening and watching. But yeah, thank you for having me on, and hopefully we can do this again another time, and my internet won't be acting funny.
From touring the AFC South podcast. Titans fans, we're closing up shop. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Stay classy and tighten up.
Let's get Titans up. Titans up.